and welcome to today's review. Happy New Year. Happy New Year. So you're tuned into today's review, and today is going to be a very, very special show. Now I'm just going to introduce who I have on set with me today. Someone that I'm sure you're probably familiar with. Someone very special, and that is Rachel. Or Ray, should I say. Hi Ray, it's good to have you back.
I feel great being back on the program.
Wonderful. And then we also have Vladit, and then we also have Julie here on set today. Thank you guys for joining us on today's review. Now we have so much that we're going to be discussing on today's show. And first up, just like I said, Happy New Year's. We are on the 4th of January, and you know, every year we hear people making New Year's resolutions, and we're going to be discussing a bit about New Year's resolutions. Do they actually work? Vladit, Julie, do they work, New Year's resolutions?
They traditionally don't, isn't it? That's kind of what everybody says. They make a joke about it halfway through the year. Oh, I made a resolution to do that, but never actually did it. So I don't think they work, no.
I think it mostly counts of the state of mind of the individual. It's quite easy to set up a resolution and stick to it. Well, what I believe most of the people do, they get distracted along the way, so they kind of lose that pattern. You have to always, every day, make a step forward towards that resolution that you made. So perhaps it's quite hard, but achievable, I would say. So
a New Year's resolution is something that can be achieved, is that what you're saying?
I think so, yeah. With the right state of mind and a lot of dedication, I think we can all make a positive change in our lives.
Certainly, but okay, every year you see people saying that, okay, I want to come out of debt, I want to quit smoking, I want to go to the gym, I want to work out.
I think you have to be realistic, don't you? When you're setting any resolution or any goal, you have to be realistic about what you're going to be able to achieve, and not set things too high, and plan too. I think you have to plan for anything that you're going to change in your life, a big change, which a New Year's resolution often is. It's losing weight or stopping smoking or something like that. And it's kind of, you know, it's often a big change that takes time and planning.
I've actually always wondered, New Year resolutions and goals, are they the same thing? Because I wonder how come people, you know, they would always set, you know, at the beginning of the year, set New Year resolutions. And many times, even before the end of January, you know, they've defaulted on the things that they want to change, or the things. So, I mean, why is it so? Is it like people are setting unrealistic goals? Is that why it's unattainable?
Yeah, do you know, I had a thought. I don't think, just like you said, you know, New Year's resolution and goals are like, they're not necessarily like the same thing. A New Year's resolution, you know, it comes towards the end of the year, and you know, you're entering a new year. What do I want to achieve this year? And it's almost based on a feeling, you know, that okay, I have this feeling of I want to change this, or I want to do this. And at some point, that feeling is going to go. And with that, once that feeling goes, the New Year's resolution goes. Just like Vladit said, you know, there's a certain type of mindset that you have to have with it.
It's a very good feel factor, isn't it? At the beginning of the year, that's what I'm gonna do. But it's just maintaining that good feel factor for the rest of the year. That's what's gonna make you achieve. Certainly. And obviously, it's not that easy. We have to control our thoughts and our mind, turning it into a positive perspective.
Certainly.
Well, I for one, I really don't. Just like everyone here, I don't believe in New Year resolutions. At the beginning of the year, I set goals and targets, and realistic ones for that matter. And then you put a process in place to ensure that you can achieve those goals and targets that you've put in place. And one of the things I want to do in 2017 is love more.
Wow.
Oh, great.
That's a beautiful,
me too, actually.
Very, very beautiful
I'm going to copy
goal
that.
and target.
We should all do that. Take your
The
example,
world would
Ray.
definitely be a better place if all of us set that same target, you know, a goal to love more. Yeah.
All right, we'll move on to something else. We're going to look at, you know, something that hit everybody at the beginning of the year. It's train fares rise by an average of 2.3%. The report says that on the first day of the week, rail passengers, they were hit with higher fares across the UK, with an average increase of 2.3%. Actually, with some, trains, it went as much as 4.5% increase. And I don't know if that came as a surprise, because I think sometime last year, the Mayor of London did say there was going to be a 5-year freeze, on...
Yeah, if he was controlling it, he said he would put a 5-year freeze on it. But I think it's just so cheeky it's like adding insult to injury, isn't it? I mean, like Piccadilly line has been an absolute nightmare with running out of stock. How can you run out of stock when you're running a railway, service? It's just something you don't do, isn't it? It's like, I don't know, it just seems bizarre. And then to add money onto your fares for this service that is really quite poor sometimes. I mean, sometimes it's great, and I like the 24 hours, so, there's a lot of good things that are happening. But I just wonder where all this money is going. I'd really like to see the accounts opened up.
Into obviously making profits. I suppose when the rail companies, they've been privatized, and I read somewhere that they're going to privatize the tracks as well, so maintaining the tracks is going to be followed by a private company, which obviously all the profits will go to only few individuals. Sure. They will make more and more money out of it. And I'm not surprised they're raising the prices every year. It's just every year it happens. So.
Yeah, but I actually want to understand why. Because in the last 20 years, we've seen an increase of fares every year, and it's gone for more than 25%, between the 90s and now. And then it's not as if the services are so much better. Like I was saying before we came on the program, I know people who travel on the trains on a daily basis for a whole year. They never get to sit down. They stand to go to work, and sometimes this is a journey for about 45 minutes, and coming back it's the same thing. So if the services are not better, if it's not improving, why the hike in fares at the beginning of the year?
I think this is it. We don't know. I think that there's like this gulf of nothing. We just don't know where is this money going. I'd like to see where is it all going. Just to see the accounts like you would in any business, and to see whether it's run privately or nationally, to see have a breakdown of where is it all going, because I don't understand.
I suppose we all wish that the salaries will raise the same as the fares every year, but unfortunately it's not happening, and it's quite dreadful for everyone, for normal people as well. It's painful. It's a continual struggle, and obviously for the rich, they're always going to benefit out of it because it doesn't affect them. But
they don't get on the trains.
The normal people, they are the ones suffering more and more, and is where it is. It will get to a point when we have to take action, I suppose.
There's actually been a protest. There was a protest actually, was it yesterday? And the Labour Mayor of London actually took part in the protest. We got a clip of that protest. It was a peaceful one anyways, but we got a clip of that protest to show you. We'll be back.
It's the annual increase that commuters have come to expect. But after months of disruption to services in the capital, this year's fare hike has been called a kick in the teeth by campaigners. From this morning, the average ticket went up by 2.3%, but others, including Virgin's East Coast trains, rose by more. Campaigners claim most regular London train users are now paying £387 a month on commuting. That's 14% of their pay packet. Much more when you compare it to other countries like Germany and France, where a similar ticket is closer to £60. The Department for Transport claim it's a necessary part of the biggest modernisation of the network in a century, and that costs are always fairly balanced between the taxpayer and the passenger.
People are heading back to work and paying more than ever to use our train system.
But across the capital and the UK, commuters held protests similar to this over what they feel is an unfair and unjust rise in prices.
These private companies are making huge profits, and the government should be able to force them to freeze their fares. Happy New Year.
The Mayor of London, Sadiq Khan, joined protesters this morning. He himself is bringing in changes to fares on TfL, his long-awaited fares freeze, which he says will keep all prices at last year's rates until 2020, except for travel cards and services that haven't been devolved.
What the government should be doing is making sure that they provide a service that is value for money. At the moment, it's not.
Every month at Mayor's Question Time, you get sort of skewered by one of the members saying, you can't find the money to pay for it, what are you going to do? TfL needs the money, we can't not have fares increases. What's your response to them? Because they don't seem to be dropping this.
Well, we've managed to not simply ensure that we have an affordable transport system, but a modern one too. So our plans to improve public transport. We're looking at other improvements in public transport in London. It is possible to improve public transport, but also make sure it's affordable. If we can do it for TfL services, the government should do the same with their services too.
Government have said that they are delivering the biggest rail modernization program for more than a century. It's just amazing to see that this is the explanation of a rail modernization program. People are complaining, people are unhappy with the state of things, but we would say it's just the beginning of the year. We look forward to better days.
Wonderful. Okay, so I'll be taking us through our next story, which says polls ask if Jeremy Corbyn or Theresa May would make the best Prime Minister. Jeremy Corbyn or Theresa May?
Oh, Theresa May for me. Yeah.
Why?
What's that?
Because she's she's very calm. She's very sensible, level-headed, and I think she'll lead us very well. And it's good to see a woman as a Prime Minister too. Not that that's really, a big
We have a
thing,
feminist in the house.
So yeah, definitely for me. I think she's all right.
But is that what really makes for a good leader?
I think intelligence and calmness and an ability to have an overview of everything of what's important. I think that makes a good Prime Minister.
Yeah, but it's early days yet. She's just been here for less than
7-8 months. Yeah. I know, but she's been in Parliament for many, many years, and she's had some very good roles. Some high-profile roles.
Do you think she was very well liked? When she was in charge of immigration.
I think she was. It depends on who you talk to, doesn't it? On whether she was liked or not. I think that's a really awful job. Anyway, would you want it? I wouldn't want that job.
Kind of decision. How do you think she's handling the pressure that she's getting? She's been asked to reveal plans of what's going to be happening with Brexit. The negotiations and everything, and she hasn't. She's barely said anything. How do you think?
I think that's good. I think she needs to keep quiet about it, because I think as soon as Europe finds out what her plans are, they're going to trip her up. Absolutely. I think that's what they did. They've done before, and David Cameron never outlined plans before his visits over there, so I don't see why she should. She knows what she's doing. I really believe she does know what she's doing.
So do you think it would have been a different situation if Jeremy Corbyn was in Theresa May's position right now?
I don't think we'd be coming out of Europe if Jeremy Corbyn was in Theresa May's position. I think that he would have pushed for a Commons debate, and it would even possibly have been overturned. So I think it might have been, but then that would have been against the will of the people, as they say. So, but that's what I feel. I mean, I don't know.
Lad?
Well, the way how I see it, and it's just my personal opinion, I believe Theresa May, she's going to continue the legacy of Mr. David Cameron. I don't think much will ever change, and perhaps if you look at it, she doesn't talk too much, because obviously is a very, very deep debate of what's happening right now at the moment. I think she needs to plan a bit more before she comes out and speaks what's the actual plan. I love Jeremy Corbyn just because he has this view of moving forward for the people, spreading equality, and obviously proper taxation of the massive corporations and the bankers who they're avoiding the tax. And I suppose the only what he needs to get better as a leader, to be a bit more autocratic himself. I think that's what he will make him better as a leader. I think he still needs to develop those leadership skills, but strongly believe in the near future he'll probably lead our country.
Stacey, we've got some statistics from the polls that was actually taken. I don't know if you're going to help us with that.
Yes, just a few. So it says 44% picked Mrs. May, 16% picked Mr. Corbyn, and 41% said they were not sure. Now this is whether Jeremy Corbyn or Theresa May would make the best Prime Minister. Now it says some 94% of the 461 Tory voters asked chose Mrs. May, compared to 53% of 282 Labour voters. Wow. Now it also says that among 382 poorer voters in the C2DE social classes, 40% chose Mrs. May, 14% chose Mr. Corbyn, and 47% said they were not sure. Yeah. So just with some of those statistics, you know, you can see, especially with, you know, the ones that picked Mrs. May, 44% picked Mrs. May, 16% picked Mr. Corbyn, but 41% said that they weren't sure. Is that a high number of people not, you know, sure of who would make the best Prime Minister? Although Theresa May, you know, she's leading by far.
She takes the lead,
She does take the lead, but then is not far from the percentage of those that are not sure.
But could it be really, because for me, I feel it has to do with the issue that's been, you know, Labour has had a lot of issues in the last couple of years. So for me, I think people are looking at the party and not necessarily at individuals. So Corbyn could be, you know, having a much lower number at the polls because people still don't have that much trust
He's a
for
representation of the party.
Yeah.
But yet again, Jeremy Corbyn is not Tony Blair, so we have to understand that it's totally changed the way how I see a Labour Party now, in nowadays.
But I think he's like Paul Foot was, and Paul Foot was never elected. But he was a really great man, and I think Jeremy Corbyn is great too. But I just don't think he's going to get elected. And I think that's what you say about the parties. I think that has a lot to do with it. People just don't trust the Labour Party as much as perhaps it had done in previous years. And I think the infighting as well is a big worry. I'm not sure I'd want to vote for somebody who can't control his own party when, you know, then give him then control of the country. Control's perhaps the wrong word, but governorship. Do you know what I mean?
That's why I believe he needs to be a bit more autocratic, a bit more tough in his leadership skills.
I think perhaps a bit more confident.
More confident, yeah. That's a good way.
Yeah, but he does come across like someone who's really confident and someone who doesn't back down.
But it does seem like an act to me.
Really?
Yeah, it does. To me, it seems like he's not really a very confident man. I don't know why. I can't.
I mean, you know, comparing it with someone like Theresa May, you know, she was for the Remain, and we left the EU, but she's still been able to lead that party. She's still able to sort of say, okay, we're still
regardless of her personal views,
regardless of her own personal you know, feelings or opinions. She's been able to take on, you know, the decision of the people and say, okay, this is what we're going to do. And you can't see any, you know, you can't really see any sort of desire to want to stay, even though that was her initial stance to begin with.
Yeah.
Okay, so in the House we've got Julie for Theresa May, and we've got Vladude for Jeremy.
Okay.
All right, we'll move on. Stacey.
Yeah. So our last story. Now this is a very interesting one, which I'm sure will spark, you know, a lot of what was already started riots or protests. I would say protests. Yeah. So it says street protest in Bradford after police shoot drug dealer dead through his car windscreen as it revealed his home had more than 10 CCTV cameras and a firearm was found in his car. Now,
I was born in Bradford. I was born in Bradford. But yeah, I think I don't we haven't got the death penalty for drug dealing in this country, and I don't think he should have been shot. I do think it's really strange that he's got a gun and 10 CCTVs, and didn't you say he had previous?
He was cleared of
attempted murder.
2 years ago.
He was cleared.
But he's been described as a drug dealer. Has he been convicted of that ever? Do we know? I don't know if he has.
I don't think he hasn't actually been. I think it's something whereby they have been following him for a while now. So, you know, that operation that took place wasn't something that was just out of the blue. It wasn't. They had been following him, and they cornered him off where he was on the M26, I believe. And from there...
M62,
M62. And then from there, they fired shots, and he died. Now, the headlines are saying he's a drug dealer. Now, was there any threat? You know, the story needs to unfold more, because right now, hence the reason why protests are taking place with over 100 people in less than 24 hours. The story
started out with just about 10 people, but within a few hours, over 100 people got on the streets protesting.
Yeah. I think what you were saying, what Ray was saying earlier about he was shot at very close range through a windscreen, wasn't he? And that's not, that to me sounds like an execution rather than a peaceful way of ending.
Yeah, because fine, I mean, the story doesn't really tell so much at this point. Yeah. So let's assume he is a drug dealer. There is a system in place that deals with that. He could have been arrested, he could have been apprehended, and we allow justice, we allow the courts, you know, take its course. But, you know, shooting him, that's where I really don't know if that's the right way to go about things.
Certainly, I feel like that's probably why, you know, more of the story needs to unfold. We need to know what exactly happened. Yeah. Why did they have to shoot? Now, they had said that he was in possession of a firearm. All of that still needs to be cleared up. The fact that he has 10 CCTV cameras in his house has, I mean, it's his house.
Anybody can have CCTV cameras.
It's his business, isn't it? At the end of the day.
It's bizarre.
But the question is, did the victim pointed a gun at the police?
We don't have that information.
Or the police assumed they had a gun and they just took action by shooting him, which I think is terribly wrong to do this. It's the life of a man who had some children and a family. So
I think he just recently got married.
I think the police needs to be investigated here. It's a very wrongdoing.
Well, they are being investigated. I mean, the ICPC, the Independent Commission for Police Investigations, they're investigating it as we speak. So they're looking into it. Whether
they could have injured him, they could have done something better than just executing him.
Basically, something that may not necessarily should have resulted in the fact that he lost his life. You know, a couple of years ago, you see the case of Mark Duggan. You know, that sparked riots, protests. And now in this situation, the fact that, you know, we have people protesting about this situation is almost like the police will have to act quickly in terms of giving out information as to what has happened. If not, you're going to find a lot of angry communities wanting to know what is going on. Why is it that this man was shot dead? Okay, he's a drug dealer. He's not the first drug dealer. No. He has CCTV in his house. He's not the first person to have CCTV in his house.
Right.
You can see that he was cornered by the police. It's not like he could have got away. There's no
there was no escape.
Yeah, exactly. There's no information that he had fired shots. So why is it that it resulted in him losing his life?
I think the police were very frustrated and angry that one had got away, that I think they got personal about it. I think they do. I mean, they're human.
They kind of lost it, I think, in this situation.
Yeah, I do.
They lost it.
Yeah, definitely.
Big time.
Does anybody know what happened with the Duggan issue? Was it investigated? Was anyone, like the police officer that shot and killed him, was he brought to book? Because at the end, sometimes when you look at issues like this, you have to look at something that's happened, you know, before. You know, what was the outcome? You know, you're talking about this case being investigated, so they could tell us it's been investigated. What usually are the outcomes of the investigations?
It does seem to me that
let's take for instance in America. A lot of the times with cases where you find people,
the police would always get away.
Innocent people murdered, and police get away, like you say, right? Yeah. It's just the world we're living in at the moment. Crucial times, I see.
We've actually had a really, really wonderful time, you know, police in the UK, they safeguard the people.
Yeah.
They protect the people.
Yeah.
We don't want to start seeing the things that have happened in the US that have not been curtailed happen
you're
here in
right.
the UK.
Yeah.
So something needs to be put in place to ensure that with, you know, operations like this, nobody ends up dying. The police, they ought to do their job, but not kill. Because at the end of the day, now you're going to have all kinds of information come out about this guy. Well, he's dead. He can't defend himself.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And you know, it's, you know, over in the UK, the officers are more quick to use their tasers. You don't really hear of situations whereby
They use the
somebody
gun.
has been shot by a police officer. So, you know, people are going to want answers to their questions.
And the
This
quicker
time.
those answers, you know, are put out there, the better. Because many times the reason why people protest is because they want answers and they don't have them.
Exactly. Well, on that note, we're actually going to have to say goodbye for today. But any last words from any of our guests, and obviously, Faye, in regards to the topics that we've discussed? Just in rounding off, any final words, New Year's resolution, about New Year's resolutions, any of the cases?
Like Ray said, I think we should all spread more love with each
Love
other
that.
and obviously be on a positive frequency and help each other and be more kind to one another.
In the new year.
Yeah.
In a- yeah.
Certainly. Well, thank you very much, everybody, for joining us on today's review. But on that note, we're going to have to say goodbye, and we'll see you next time. Bye.